Went from condos to Pop's house. On calls now bus routes.
All right, N2S family. So we have Sebastian Telfair. How many of you out there remember Sebastian Telfair? I'm pretty sure everyone out there who are huge basketball fanatics remember who Sebastian Telfair was. I mean, at one point in time, this man was probably more popular than LeBron James when he was in high school, right? He's from New York, and he had a big name. He is the cousin to Stephon Marbury, and you know he was a great high school basketball player, right? And Sebastian Telfair ended up going to the NBA straight out of high school, no college, just straight from high school to the NBA. And the dude probably wasn't even 6 feet. He was probably around 5'10", maybe said he was 6 feet. But Sebastian Telfair was not tall at all, right? But I bring that up to say, at one point in time, he was the guy, you know, and he ended up going to the NBA. He went through some legal troubles and injuries, and you know what was expected of him, we didn't see that translate to the NBA, but he still spent like 10 years in the NBA, so he did pretty well, right? But after he retired from the NBA, Sebastian Telfair have went through a lot of legal battles. He even had a legal issue with the NBA, which we're going to get into that and everything too, right? But Sebastian Telfair is now in a position to where he went from making somewhere over $30 million in his NBA career, right, to now living back in the projects. That isn't a nothing to something story. That's a something to nothing, you know, story, right? Now, I feel for Sebastian, and you know, we should definitely pray for anybody who has went through a situation like that, right? Because think about how that could be on your mental state. To go from living in the projects to making it to the NBA, right? To making over 30 million, retiring, and then losing everything and ending up back in the projects. That's tough. That's tough. I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that. Now, I've heard of, you know, NBA players losing, you know, millions of dollars and even some of them going broke. But I've never heard of anybody having to go back to the projects. Never heard of that one. So what I want to do right now is just show a short clip of he's doing a documentary. So this clip is just going over some of the stuff in the documentary. And after that, I want to read an article. But let's go to the clip really quick first, and then we'll go from there.
I played over 10 years in the NBA and had everything I ever dreamed of. But now I'm right back to where it all began. When somebody told me I was going to end up back in the projects, I would have never believed anyone, not for 1 minute.
People see you in the mansions and see you, you know, back in the projects. I kind of feel like I'm letting the whole town down. At this point, I'm ready to get the fuck out of here.
Man. You know, in a lot of the clips that they showed, you could see the pain in his eyes. You could see that he's going through a lot. So far, 2 episodes or 2 videos for his documentary that he's doing, Moving Back to the Hood, have came out, right? And in each videos, the man is probably crying more than half of the video. You could tell he's going through a lot of pain, man, a lot of pain. And that's why I said I feel for Sebastian. It can be a good feeling. You know, I know what it is. I know what it feels like to be broke. I even know what it feels like to, you know, make a lot of money and have a lot of success and lose it all, right? I still was in a place to where I could take care of myself, but to be in a position where you make millions and then having to move back to the projects, that's deep, man. People take their lives for things like that. In fact, people take their lives for less than that. So to see that he's still being strong and trying to get through it, you know, shout out to him for that. I mean, I would say I hope he get to a place where he get his life right with Christ, right? Because one thing that I always say is I don't care if you got $10 or $1 million. The joy, the love, the humility, the grace, you know, the hope, all the things that you could feel with Christ by your side, you can't get that from anywhere else. Anywhere else, right? So that's one thing that I hope for Sebastian Telfair, that he get Christ in his life, right? But let's read this article really quick, because in this article is going to go over a lot of the things that he has been through and why he is in his position that he is in right now. So right here it says Sebastian Telfair reveals why he had to move back to the projects after making millions. So it says Sebastian Telfair has revealed the reason why he had to move back to the projects before he went to prison. The former NBA player opened up about how he went from making millions in the NBA to having to move back to mermaid houses in Coney Islands in the first episode of his documentary, Sebastian Telfair, Final Days of Freedom. The day I picked up a basketball was the day I was for sure knowing I was going to make it out, Telfair said in the episode. After being the #1 pick in New York City history, I turned that dream into a reality. I played over 10 years in the NBA and made tens of millions of dollars. I had everything I ever dreamed of. But after a series of legal issues and personal problems, my life has become something I could never imagine, Telfair continued. I'm right back to where it all began, back in Coney Island, back in the projects, back in the fire. Telfair, who made nearly 19 million. Okay, it's 19. I said like a little bit over 30. All articles are different. But nearly 19 million in the NBA, later revealed more about his financial situation and what led to him losing his money. I end up getting locked up in 2017, unlicensed firearms and all that BS, Telfair revealed, referencing a 2017 arrest gun possession, which ended in a 3.5-year prison sentence. That conviction was overturned on appeal in 2023. Fighting the feds and my divorce affected my finances, he continued. Now I got to run around broke. The federal case in question was Telfair's involvement in a healthcare fraud. Now, this is what he's going to jail for right now, right? In fact, he's in jail right now serving his time. But this is what happened. It says the federal case in question was Telfair's involvement in a healthcare fraud scheme that defrauded the NBA's health plan. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud and wire fraud in early 2024 and avoided prison time with a time served sentence. However, after failing to abide by the terms of his release, he was sentenced to 6 months of prison this past June. He started serving his term in August. Telfair is currently locked up in FCI Fort Dix with Sean Diddy Combs. And the two were spotted together in photos obtained by TMZ. While Diddy has a 50-month stay to deal with, Telfair should be out in 3. In August, Telfair publicly pleaded for President Trump to issue him a pardon. I mean, shoot. Nowadays, everybody asking Trump for a pardon, right? It's like at first nobody wanted to deal with Trump. Now everybody asking Trump for a pardon. Crazy, right? But yeah, man. It's a sad situation, man, when it comes down to Sebastian Telfair. Now it's kind of crazy when it comes down to what he's in jail for. He's in jail for stealing from his retirement. So basically, he's stealing from his older self. That's the way it's looked at. It's his money that he took out of his retirement, but he's not supposed to touch it for years down the road. So there was an NBA player who go by the name of Terrence Williams who showed him how to get that money now. But it was in a legal direction. So Sebastian Telfair took that chance and now he's in jail for it. So it's a crazy story on why he's in jail, but it's just sad to see that he had to go through so much, and the divorce situation as well. Having to go through a divorce. I've never been married, so I don't know how that feels, right? But as he says, he lost everything in the divorce. It wasn't even a situation of where, okay, his wife just got a percentage or, it was 50-50. No, he said he lost everything in the divorce. So the man has went through a lot. He went through a lot. But, in this moment, man, we got to pray for Sebastian Telfair, man. That's why I wanted to do this video. I wanted to tell everyone out there who watching, pray for him. Pray for him, man. Because like I said, when you look in his eyes in the video, go back and watch, his documentary if you get a chance. If you look in this man's eyes, you can see the pain. You can see the suffering. You can see everything that he is facing. So the best thing for us to do, especially us Christians, as believers, is to get on our knees and pray for this man, because we don't know his mental state. And we know that people who go through things like this, they become depressed, angry, deal with a lot of sadness, start getting on drugs, and sometimes commit suicide. And I don't want to see Sebastian Telfair go down that direction. I don't think that's a direction that is even on his mind, but you never know. You never know. So the best thing that we could do for Sebastian Telfair is pray for him.